Hi, this is Rob at myquantumdiscovery.com. I want to do a hopefully short video here on setting up Jeep Grand Cherokee L in 2021 and up for flat towing behind a motorhome. And because there have been some issues, the main issue being the electric park brake, which I've heard of a couple of instances where it has activated itself or somehow become activated while the vehicle is being towed. And unlike other cars I've had, that park brake will lock the rear wheels and you'll just burn your tires out. So far, we've towed over 4,000 miles, probably about 22, 23 hitch-on-hitch towing sessions, and I have not had a problem following this procedure that I'm about to explain. So let's talk about the electric park brake for a second. As you should know, it's right here. You pull it on, push it to take it off. I want you to listen to the sound it makes. You want to pay attention to that. Now I can't shut it off right now because I'm not in the car and I don't have my foot on the brake. Okay, so I'm in the car now. I'm going to turn the park brake on. Hopefully you could hear that. Also notice the brake light lights up here. That's going to be important for pre-towing setup, so pay attention to that. Now I've got my foot on the brake pedal, and I'm going to turn off the brake. First off, the instructions in the owner's manual for the Jeep are really not right in many cases. For instance, they have step 14, attach the vehicle to the tow vehicle using a suitable tow bar. Well, that can't really be step 14. That has to be step 1. So step 1, get your vehicle hooked up to your motorhome or whatever you're towing it with. Connect the tow bar. Don't take the transfer case out of neutral yet. Get everything set up. Normally you need to obviously pull up behind the motorhome into proximate position, hook up your tow bar, hook up your safety cables, hook up your airline and your breakaway cable. And then, at least this is what I always do, I have to back up to extend the tow bar arms until they lock. And at that point, you can go ahead and start the actual setup procedure for towing this vehicle. Okay, so at this point now you've got your Jeep hooked up to your motorhome. The tow bar is all locked into position and everything's ready to go on that end. And now we're ready to change some settings and proceed with getting it ready to flat tow. I've found that there are two things that are critical as far as prohibiting the electric park brake from activating and perhaps you not knowing that it was activated. And one of those is to keep the doors closed at all times. Get in the car, close the doors. Don't open the doors till you're done with this procedure. The ignition's off. Don't let anybody else open the doors while you're doing this procedure. There's a safety feature Jeep has implemented what's called safe hold. And if the doors are open and the transmission's not in park, that can trigger the electric park brake to come on. And there's a second situation where that can happen too, and I'll talk about that a little later. Okay, so at this point, I've started the vehicle, and the first thing that I change are the settings in the Uconnect. So let's go through those. You want to go to the vehicle button, and then the settings at the top here. We don't need to change anything in display or my profile. Safety and driving assistance, yes, we want to change some things there. I always change forward collision warning to only warning. I change pedestrian emergency braking to off. Go back. Park sense, only warning. hill start assist, I turn that off. May not need to actually do that, but I know it's something related to the electric park brake, so I always do. Don't need to do anything in clock and date. Don't need to do anything in any of these. The next one is brakes. This one's important. Auto park brake. You must have that off. In fact, I recommend it. Well, I like just having it off all the time. I just find it's more of a pain in the butt than helpful. In fact, it's kind of gotten me into some confusing situations. So I just leave it off all the time. But you should go through the procedure, check it, make sure it's off. The next one is suspension. Auto entry exit suspension, turn that off, because we're going to be setting the ride height to normal mode, and if that's on, as soon as you switch into park, it's going to lower the vehicle to the lowest setting, and that's probably not what you want. In regard to that, you may find this pretty useful to get your vehicle at the right height for your tow bar. You always want your tow bar as level as possible. It just so happens in my case that normal ride height, which I'm switching to now, is exactly perfect for the height of the hitch on my motorhome. Your mileage may vary. I guess I wouldn't go into entry exit mode. I wouldn't go that low while towing. So you might want to, use a drop bar or something for that. But probably aero mode, which is the second one here, or even the one above that might be okay. But luckily for me, it turned out that the normal height is perfect for towing for me. So that's really all there is. This actually becomes pretty second nature after you've done it a few times, so it goes really quick. Okay, so we've got all the settings changed on the Uconnect to hopefully eliminate the possibility of the electric park brake engaging when you don't want it to. So the next step is to put the transfer case in neutral. Before I do that, notice my electric park brake is engaged right now. Since I'm hooked up to the motorhome, I really don't need that on, so I'm going to turn that off. Foot on the brake, push, and it's off. Okay, now we're going to shift into neutral. My foot's on the brake, and we're going to hold down the neutral button for 4 seconds. Okay, the lights turn solid. I also notice in the display I've got neutral. At this point, the vehicle should be totally disconnected from anything. So, if you're not hooked up to your motorhome, you'll be rolling somewhere. So, in order to make sure that we are in fact in neutral, what I usually do is put it in reverse, put it in drive, and make sure that it doesn't move. So that confirms that it is in fact in neutral. Next step is put it in park. Now notice that flashing park light, and it says on the display here, vehicle speed too high. Well, it did say that, and now it stopped flashing. Sometimes that light will continue to flash. This is the second instance when the auto park brake, or I should say the electric park brake, can become engaged without you really realizing it. If that light's flashing and you turn off the vehicle, the park brake will come on, and you won't know it because you turned off the vehicle, unless you happen to hear the sound that we talked about earlier. So be absolutely sure that the park light is not flashing at this point. And basically, you're ready to tow now. So what I'm going to do is shut the vehicle off. I've shut down. We should be ready to tow. And the transfer case shows that it's still in neutral. That light will stay on, I think, for a minute or two, and then it'll just go off. I want to make sure I have Power steering is still active, and you can't really see this, but make sure the brake is a soft pedal, which pretty much always is. And there's one more step that I always do just to make sure something didn't happen with the electric parking brake. So with my foot off the pedal, the brake pedal, turn the ignition on, and keep an eye on this panel. So the brake light will come on as it normally does for a few seconds when you first turn the ignition on. The neutral indicator is still lit, which means the transfer case is in neutral. Now we're looking over here in this area. But mainly you just want to make sure that that park brake light did not come on. And again, do not open the door until you're finished with this. And the last thing I'm going to do now, which I've double checked, the park brake's not on, turn off the ignition. At this point, you can open the door, get out of the vehicle, and lock it like you normally would, and you're set to go. And the final thing I always try to do is, as I'm pulling away, I try to see the rear, if I can see the rear wheels on the Jeep, make sure they're turning. You can't always do that if you're going straight, but as soon as you come to, I think you would know, but just something to look for as you're pulling away. And that should do it. You should be fine. Good luck. Okay, so you've had a successful day towing your Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Hopefully no problems. You're at your destination. And you want to reverse the order of all of the steps that you took to set it up for towing. And there are a couple little, not problems, just little things to know, I guess. They're really just, to me, kind of just annoying things. The first thing to do before you start to unhitch or any of that, unlock your Jeep, get in, start it up. And at this point, assuming that you're getting ready to unhitch it, I would manually apply the park brake, the electric park brake. So you can see that's lit up now, because you don't want it to roll on you or anything. Next thing I would do is get out of the car, just let it sit here. Don't try to take the transfer case out of neutral. There's, for whatever reason, there seems to be like about a 2-minute time period after you've started, after towing, before it will consider coming back out of neutral. So go do something else. I usually, start unhitching. Sometimes I can't completely because I need to jockey the car forward or backwards if I'm on a hill. But I get off the safety cables and put away as much stuff as I can. And by the time I come back inside, it'll pop right out of neutral. It's happened every time I've waited 1.5 to 2 minutes. No issue. So to do that, put your foot on the brake, go to neutral, hold the button down, and I don't know if you could hear that, but it popped out of neutral. Now, of course, I'm doing this video, I haven't actually just towed, but you'll have to take my word for it that it does in fact work just like that, as long as I've let it run for about 2 minutes after I've started it. Put in park, and that's it. Now, the other thing you got to find, unless there's been a fix for it, is your dash isn't going to look like this. You're going to have all kinds of weird kind of error messages happening. Especially the thing that seems to be the most common, or the first thing that you're going to see, is you're going to see the tire pressure display. It's going to be all in red, and there'll be a few other errors as well. I'm going to patch in another video here I did that shows what all those errors are. So this is the typical, it happens every time after towing and coming out of transfer case neutral. Also, if you try to change settings here, they won't go. Usually, sometimes you get a message that says it's not available or something like that. There it is. It won't save it. Okay, that one worked. That one worked. But these two don't want to work. Now, after driving it for about a quarter of a mile, all of this stuff will clear up and go away. But it happens every single time I flat tow, and I've never flat towed less than an hour. Actually, make that less than a half hour. And this happens every single time. This isn't really anything, in my opinion, that you need to be super worried about. It's like the system needs to be rebooted, basically. So the way that I've done that is I drive, and within a quarter of a mile, everything clears up. All systems communicate, whatever they do, and everything's back to normal. But so expect that to happen. And finally, I would wait until you've driven that quarter of a mile and everything is back to normal before reconfiguring the settings on the Uconnect. But just to go over those again, this is to put them back into normal, whatever settings that you normally have. I usually keep this on. I keep this on. I keep Park Sense on. I keep Hill Start Assist on. I don't, like I mentioned earlier, I leave Auto Park Brake off, but that's my preference. And suspension, I put back to Auto Entry Exit because it is a lot easier for us older folks to get in and out when the vehicle lowers itself. And that's about it. Everything should be back to normal until next time you tow. Have fun. See you down the road.